Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and this is the COVID Katchup Tag. I was tagged by Mark over at Book Time with Elvis to do this tag, and it was interesting hearing his point of view. He lives in the Czech Republic, to hear what the experience was there. This tag was originally created by Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, this has given me some time to reflect. I watched some other answers to this tag. What I teach seventh grade social studies, and knowing this is going to be a trying and difficult year for my students, when they came in the first day, I just had written on the board, "May you live in interesting times," and we talked about that supposed old proverb, which of course isn't an old proverb, but I stress to students that this is difficult. That this is a difficult time, but the entire human species is going through it right now. This is a shared experience across the globe. And I think this tag, seeing people from so many different spots around not just the country, but the world, really stresses that we're really all in this together. And we're all going to be changed by this. And the world is not going to be the same after this. So it is worth reflecting on 1 year later. So the first prompt was, when did you first hear about COVID-19? In the news at some point in January of 2020. I think I saw some articles in the New York Times. I didn't pay too close attention to it in January. Just kind of, skimmed the headlines, read a little bit. But as it got nearer, I can empathize with Brian over at Bookish and his response, because my students had asked me what I thought was going to be happening with this, and we had already in our class we talk about the Spanish conquest, and we look at the smallpox epidemic, of course, that wiped out over 90% of Native Americans across the Americas, and I always kind of give them the good news at the end, that the WHO, at the end of the 1970s, declared smallpox eradicated. So it was kind of like, yay, science. Yes, millions and millions of people died of smallpox, but we beat it. So it's a little bit of a hopeful ending at the end. And so they knew about pandemics. And when they had asked me what I thought was going to be happening, I had stressed at that point, this is probably early March, that, it seems, from what I was hearing at the time, and of course I'm frustrated now to know what terrible information we were getting. This is kind of like the flu, right? And it probably won't be too bad. We had no idea, of course, how this was going to go, but we were not being given very good information at the time. And my school district is one of the first to close in the state. We closed very early. We were one of the first to get into remote learning. It was difficult. My wife was actually set to go to Texas right around that time. She had been invited by the University of Texas to go and speak to them about connecting with students. She teaches math at the high school level. And it was a great honor for her. I was a part of South by Southwest, and then just 2 days before she was supposed to leave, everything got canceled. And Texas pretty much shut down. So she lost out on that. It was just such an eerie time. I remember going to the grocery store, and of course seeing the shelves cleaned out, no toilet paper for miles. Seeing all the pasta aisles gone, the tomato sauce completely wiped out, the soup section. Trying to kind of salvage whatever I can from a grocery store to make meals for my family, because we were all home. I had 2 children, and I have a cat and a dog, and but I have summer we had guinea pigs as well. So a lot of mouths to feed. But I remember going through and just remembering how stressful grocery shopping was, not just because of infection, but instead of the music that you normally hear playing, the same music over and over again, you heard announcements about, reminders of social distancing, and how, their most vulnerable elderly customers will have their own time, and, yeah, it had just ended up feeling very dystopian, hearing that above your heads. And we lost some good businesses. We had an excellent microbrew in town. It was called Bad Dream Brewing. It was a brewery, but they had a lot of horror themed stuff. They actually had a monthly horror book club. Sometimes we get authors there. They had just announced that Grady Hendrix was going to be coming to the next book talk. And unfortunately, they shut down after that because they were really a taproom only place, and that business is no longer around. That was a terrible loss. Our town also used to have a movement center. It was a indoor area for children to go on slides, and the inflatable, kind of like jungle gyms, ball pits, all sorts of things, and that's gone now. That was a terrific thing that our town had. So lots changed. I graduated with my master's at that time, and didn't affect me too much logistically because I was writing my master's anyway. So I didn't have to go into the building all the time, and I was just kind of communicating with my advisors through the internet, so I didn't have to be in the building or anything like that. But I didn't get to walk for my graduation, my master's, and not that for me I really wanted it necessarily, but I wanted to see my kids, or I wanted my kids to see that. I thought that would be a valuable thing for them to see, but they didn't get to, of course. So it's been a blur of a year. It really has been, and it's looking back, it's made me realize just how much I've kind of forgotten or I've compartmentalized mentally. And of course, the handling of it by our chief executive at the time, was just maddening. It was absolutely infuriating. Yeah, you think that if anything, a pandemic would allow, a man-child to step back and let the adults in the room talk, but that didn't happen. So this has been a turbulent year for our country, not just because of COVID, but in everything that led up through it. So it's been a stressful year, certainly, but quality family time. Last year was the first year I actually kind of experienced my yard in springtime. That's not something that I really knew. I didn't know all the different animals that came into my yard, and everybody all of a sudden became bird watchers, and that was sort of one of them. We got a book, and our kids would go ahead and figure out what birds were in the yard. So it was that part was definitely nice, but difficult. Number 2 is how are things in your neck of the woods? What's open or not? As I said, I'm in Connecticut. We went into lockdown pretty early on. It didn't take that long, and it was for a while. Just recently, most things have opened up to 100% capacity. We still have to have the mask mandate. And starting in early April, anybody 16 or older is eligible to get the vaccination. They're expecting a big influx of vaccinations available by that point. Of course, who knows how long an appointment will take. But most things are open now, which is risky. But at this point, at least, when I go out, I don't see too many people being too foolhardy. You go into the grocery store, everybody's got a mask on. I know other parts of the country, that's not necessarily the way that it is when you go out and about. But people, at least in our area, are very good about putting on their masks whenever they go inside someplace. But yeah, things are almost seemingly getting back to normal. I don't know. We're in a couple of weeks, we might take a little 2-night journey, little family mini vacation within state, and taking all the precautions. But most things are open, so we're gonna, just kind of dip our toes into some things and at least just get away for a few nights, I think. But hopefully, I think our family needs it at this point. Number 3, beach reading. Any books you are looking forward to reading after COVID? Calling it beach reading, I guess this kind of implies, or would be for somebody who would sit on a beach and read. I've never really been that. I like walking on beaches, and I like being near the ocean. especially, being able to hear it. I love having a hotel near the ocean, but I don't sit on the beach. I get very antsy, and I don't like being hot uh, for that long. And I'm a portly, bearded man. Sitting out in the sun roasting is not my idea of a good time at all, and I don't like getting sand everywhere. Um, but and even if I did, having small kids, I don't get the luxury of getting lost in a book. I got to make sure they don't get taken away in the tide. Um, for my answer, I'm going to think more like what Hannah from Hannah's Book said. I look forward to book shopping. That's what I want. And we've had bookstores that are open, but I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking about the massive library book sales that we have in our area, or had, and hopefully will again, where it's just room after room just filled with books. And my kids can go and they can just get, each a pile for practically pennies. And, they can pick out some of their favorites and spend the afternoon looking through them. And I can walk out with a bag full, possibly. And, just to get to those book sales, we live in a very beautiful part of Western Connecticut. And it's always just nice scenic drives to get there. So that's kind of like our weekend ritual usually, is to go to a book sale in the summer. And last year we weren't able to do it. I think they're going to start having them again. Of course, it's going to be, I'm sure, having all sorts of restrictions to go along with it. So it might not be the same at all, but that's what I miss. I miss big old book sales. And that's what I'm looking forward to after COVID, whatever that means. I don't know if we're ever going to be after COVID, but post lockdown, maybe. Number 4, what's a book you have read in these last months, directly or indirectly because of COVID? I don't think I've read anything because of it. I have avoided reading some things. Beginning of last year, I thought I was going to read Stephen King's The Stand in 2020. But it just felt a little bit too real at that point. I didn't really want to read about a deadly pandemic when I was in the middle of a pandemic. So maybe this year I'll get to The Stand, maybe by the end of the year. But it did not entice me at that point. So it was more about avoiding than actually being drawn to things when it comes to COVID. Number 5, what is the best video you have made or seen during COVID? I guess my answer is going to be kind of similar to Mark's, who's also a teacher. I also love seeing those videos out of Italy with people performing for their neighbors, this music echoing through the streets and people on their balconies watching a performance. I thought that was great. But also, I started creating videos for my students, last spring of 2020. And, it's probably partly because of that I actually ended up creating a BookTube channel. It's kind of a first step, a taste of creating videos. And I know I did at least one in our Japan unit. I did one about Godzilla and the atomic bomb. And I kind of, showed them clips of Godzilla in 1954. And then we talked about the Hiroshima destruction in the video. And then the whole idea about people creating monsters to deal with their anxieties. And I showed them clips from 1954's Them and 1953's, I believe, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and about how those big monster creature features reflected fears of the atomic age. And it was just kind of a fun 20-something minute video for their lesson, and they had questions along the way. But I had a couple parents email me telling me that they had, how much fun they had going through that with their student, with their child. So that was nice. I guess that was maybe my best video that I made all year. I made some other ones too, but that's the one that got the biggest hit. That was the biggest hit. Number 6, are you going to have the vaccine? Yes, I already received my first shot. As a teacher, I was eligible to get a little bit earlier. Only had it for a little over a week. But, by the beginning of May, I should be fully vaccinated and with enough time for the vaccine to, go into effect, essentially. So that'll be a relief. We have some friends who have also gotten the vaccine. So it'll be nice to have people over, have game nights, have dinners with people again if they're fully vaccinated. you know, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So 7 tag people. This is kind of a strange tag. I was going on a limb. I'm going to tag Anjanette Barr over at the Book Bar because she's in Alaska, and I'm curious about what Alaska, or at least her part of Alaska, what that experience has been. So Anjanette, if you're interested in doing this, you know, please go ahead. If you don't really want this on your booktube, I can totally understand as well. It's kind of a stranger type of tag and content to create for a channel. But you know, if you're welcome to do it if you like. So anyway, that is the COVID Katchup Tag. All right. Thanks again to Mark for tagging me, and have a good one, BookTube.